Greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show, one powerful hour of truth, dispelling all falsehood. I am your host, Brother Daryl Muhammad, and we're so glad that you have tuned in to tonight's program, the Community Defender Talk Show. And what we want to do is discuss, I believe, a wonderful and powerful topic that needs to be discussed, that's missing from the dialogue, and that is America rhetoric versus the reality. Rhetoric versus the reality. And rhetoric is those words that we say, those things that we speak, the language that we use to describe a thing. And we all know that something can be described in one way, but in actuality be just the opposite. And so we're looking at what is going on in America right now. And what we see is a deranged nation that is tearing itself apart. America is a great empire. It's not even a nation. It's actually right now a great empire with military bases in over 150 countries to, of course, rob other people and other nations and other peoples of the benefits of the natural resources that are under their feet. And when you are talking about military bases in Africa and Asia, military bases in Europe, military bases everywhere except Antarctica, there's nothing that they're doing that's defending Americans, but what they're doing is they're defending the interests of multinational corporations. So even as people talk about service to a great nation, they talk about our fighting men and women and all of these things. That's the rhetoric. The reality is you're stealing oil, you're stealing diamonds, you're stealing copper, and you're backing up your thievery with guns and ammunition. That's what it is. And as I've said before on this program, the man that white America refuses to follow is Jesus. They will never, ever, ever actually follow "do unto others as you would have them do unto you." That will never be followed. And that is the ethic. That is the thing that they just can't seem to do. Now, when you look at Trump, the person who did not get the majority of the votes, but who got the majority of the electors, when you look at Donald Trump, you will readily be able to see that he is a reflection of the filth that is in the heart of the average, everyday redneck person. And instead of dealing with Puerto Rico and with the suffering of an island whose infrastructure has been destroyed, and those people are supposedly American citizens, and his slow response to get in there and to deal with the issue. Instead, he goes and has a rally in Alabama and calls peaceful protesters who are only kneeling sons of bitches. This is what he says. So it's a situation to where he has said in other speeches that he does not mind peaceful protests, but when someone does it, he is using all kinds of foul language against them. And look, the thing is that it's not about the flag. It's not about the national anthem. It is about the disrespect of human life, which is more important than an anthem and more important than a flag. Yet some kind of way, this demonic Donald Trump is somehow has missed that. And I believe it's by design that he's missed it. But the bottom line of it is that Donald Trump reflects the mind of the people that voted for him, and he is right on course with what his supporters desire him to do. Understand that he carried Louisiana, he carried Alabama, he carried Mississippi, he carried Arkansas, and he still has majority support in those states. These are redneck racist states. And keep in mind, for the most part, all 50 states are absolutely racist in the way that people, the darker people, are treated all over America. So now, when you look at the billionaire on welfare, Tom Benson, who gets state subsidies, his team profits about $100 million a year, yet the state writes him a check each and every year, or checks, there's millions of dollars in subsidies, and then he gets the money from the naming rights of the, where they call it the Mercedes Superdome. He gets that money also. So when you look at that, we have a billionaire that's on welfare, but we want to talk about poor people. A billionaire who does not need welfare, who doesn't need health insurance, who doesn't need Obamacare, who doesn't need Medicaid. He is being subsidized by the state of Louisiana, and there's nothing that these Republicans are saying about it at all. So when a lawmaker is talking about cutting the subsidies for the Saints because 10 players took a knee at a game, 10 players kneeled down, all of this is written of in your scriptures, as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has said. Everything that we're dealing with now was written thousands of years before now, and all we have to do is go to the scripture and read it. I'm going to read something from the book of Daniel. And whether you're into biblical scripture or not, and keep in mind, we believe in the truth of the Bible, but we believe that the Bible has been tampered with and must be reinterpreted so that mankind will not be snared by the falsehoods that have been added to it. But here's the thing. The 3rd chapter of the book of Daniel talks about people being held captive inside of Babylon. And those people held captive, they named 4 of them, but it's many of them. And they named Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now this king by the name of Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof was 6 cubits. He set up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, law enforcement, and all the rulers of the provinces, that means the mayors, to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. So everybody is commanded that when the Star-Spangled Banner is played and when the flag is waving, that everybody has to stand up and put their hand over their heart. In other words, you have to bow down to the image of Nebuchadnezzar. Now, at some point, according to this book, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't bow down. And because they did not bow down, they then were subject, and I'm get right to you, caller, they were subject to being killed or put in what is called a fiery furnace. That is exactly what has happened to Colin Kaepernick. He refused, on grounds of inequality, injustice, and murder, to bow down to the image that had been set up by white America, and he asserted his right as a human being to peacefully protest and take a knee. That's what he did. I would have thought of something more bold, but he did something very relaxed, calm, respectful. The bottom line of it is that was too much for many in white America. Many in white America believed that that was too much, that was disrespectful to the flag. Well, we were kidnapped and brought over here. Y'all did not consult us about the words or the music of the Star-Spangled Banner. So since we were brought here, we do not morally have to accept your design of a flag or your words of the Star-Spangled Banner. We don't even have to, we're not even under a moral obligation to accept something that was imposed on us. Now, other immigrants who came voluntarily such as the whites, such as other groups of people. You came here voluntarily. Therefore, if you fall in line with whatever was going on, that's up to you. But you came here to an economy that was already built on the backs of slave labor. So those of you who are Italian or Irish, and you're like, well, you know, I worked hard. No, you worked hard in an economy that had already been built by black people's free labor for hundreds of years. That's why you have an economy. The reason that Americans' economy is the strongest in the world is because she has worked people for free on this land for over 400 years. That is the reason why. She has a class of people that she oppresses to suck their blood, and thereby, like a vampire, after sucking blood, the weak vampire becomes strong. But understand, the vampire only works in darkness, because the light of the sun exposes and kills the vampire, just as the light of truth tears down the white supremacist ideology and mindset. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to destroy the idea of white supremacy, and to destroy the idea that the image set up by the pagan Nebuchadnezzar, now being played in the modern time by Donald Trump, that we have to bow to the image of Nebuchadnezzar. We do not have to bow to that image. We do not have to bow to anyone but God. We do not have to pledge allegiance to anyone but God and his truth. Period. So we're here to dispel all of that. And the bottom line of it is, didn't this week, wasn't there an incident where at USAFA, the United States Air Force Academy, there was a message board that said niggas go home? Even as people were trying to serve in the military, trying to serve their quote unquote country, and yet they're being told nigga go home. I know that the three-star general gave a heartwarming speech about respecting people of other races, but the reality is different from his rhetoric. He has a certain rhetoric, but the reality is different, and it has always been different for black people. We're going to go ahead and take this call. Go ahead, caller. You're on there with the Community Defender.
How you doing, Brother Dan?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me see if I can get some more volume on you, good brother. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you know, man, first of all, I want to say you do a fantastic job hosting the show. I always enjoy, you know, what you have to say, because I think, you know, it is very much needed. And second of all, I want to say, you know, concerning Donald Trump, man, I'm very much afraid, you know, once Donald Trump became president, that we would, you know, things would come out the way it has. And, you know, nature have a way of, like, you know, rebelling against, you know, an evil empire, like you said, just like in the time of the Romans. And, you know, Donald Trump is well on his way, you know, to being like one of these Roman empires, Caesar, Tiberius. And, I mean, look at this, man. We have two Category 5 hurricanes, and I'm from Louisiana. You know, I've been through Katrina. You know, and then here we go. We have a Cat 5, Cat 4 hit Puerto Rico. You know, and wipes out 95% of the country. Donald Trump on his golf course, you know, and tweeting about some ridiculous stuff. I don't even know, he tweets so many stupid stuff. I don't even know what he's tweeting about. But I mean, it's getting bad, man. And then later on, I think before he was saying some ridiculous stuff, threatening North Korea with this extinction. Man, we're in trouble. we're in very much trouble, man. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I'm very much afraid. You know, it's almost like we're in a horror movie. You know, and it's just good to see the community, the defender that's always on their job. You know, always ahead of the curve, trying, you know, informing, you know, people of color and anybody else that want to listen and understand, man, because this stuff is going on. And Fox News, they totally, you know, a cheerleader for Donald Trump. The other networks, you know, they trying to get good ratings. So, man, look, just keep up the good work. You know, I don't care what anybody says. You know, you do a fantastic job hosting the show. This is one of the #1 greatest show on AOC. So I just want to just say, have a good night. I'm gonna hang up the phone because I definitely want to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna continue to listen, man. Good night.
Thank you, good brother. We definitely appreciate your words of encouragement. Now, the thing I want to, of course, get into is Donald Trump is America's punishment, and we may not like to hear that, but this man is your punishment. You don't even know that when you were voting for this man to be your president, that you were voting for the destruction of America. This man is attacking every institution that upholds America. He's attacking the press. He's attacking education. He's attacking his own party. Anybody that disagrees with him, he comes out on them in a disagreeable way. He's attacked the mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, who is asking for the government to respond to who it calls its citizens. And I saw something online, and it looked like a tweet from Trump, and it looked just like Twitter, but I wanted to verify it, but I'm going to say it. And it said that Trump had once tweeted that Puerto Ricans, as far as I'm concerned, Puerto Ricans are Mexicans with a New York accent. Now that's amazing. So if that's how he feels about Puerto Ricans, and he thinks that Mexicans are murderers and rapists, which of course, if you ask the Native Americans, they'll tell you that the murderers and rapists have been here way before the Mexicans. You ask the Cherokee tribe, the Seneca tribe, and they'll tell you that the murderers and rapists were already here and they weren't brown. That's just what it is. The murderers and rapists. You had 40 million Native Americans, now less than 2 million. Where did they go? Where did the other 38 million go? Was it the Mexicans that got them? No. It was people like Donald Trump that eliminated and exterminated the Native Americans and destroyed their culture, destroyed their language, destroyed everything that they had and stole. Okay? America is not the land of the free, nor is it the home of the brave. It's the land of the slave master and the arrogant coward, because that's who's in the White House right now, an arrogant coward with no integrity whatsoever. And he is wanting to enslave the entire world. Let's go ahead and take this caller. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air with the community defender.
Yes, good evening, Brother Daryl.
How you doing, sir?
Very, very wonderful show, informative show. You know, the thing of it is, we're talking about Donald Trump, and the thing of it is, the reason why white America got Donald Trump today because of the hatred of a well-qualified black man in spirit and wisdom and everything else to run the country. But because white America feel that they was always used to giving orders to black folks, they were scared to take orders from a black man that was a commander-in-chief and way more qualified than Trump is today. You know, they getting ready to call for an impeachment for him. But the thing of it is, you know, these NFL players, they're taking a need for certain things. But I feel it's more about Jim Crow than anything, because in the national anthem it says justice and freedom for all. And who getting the justice? We're not even free in America, even though we're supposed to be born and raised here in America. You know, so white supremacy is going to be here, and the only way we'll get rid of it if we make sure that we're registered voters. We may not like the process, but if we're registered voters and go out and vote in record numbers, like they did in Johannesburg, South Africa, when President Mandela wanted to run for president. You know, until we learn to go out and vote in record numbers and stop accepting the beer and the barbecue and all that other old stuff and learn our civics, we ain't going nowhere, brother. But keep on doing what you're doing, my brother. Respect you in all aspects that I possibly can. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, my brother. Thank you so much for the vote of encouragement and confidence, brother. But of course, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at. We're actually walking right now on the pages of Scripture. We're dealing with an angry Nebuchadnezzar, who is upset that the children of Israel, black people, are not bowing down to the image that was set up. Now, the thing I want to say is that, and we're going to deal with that argument, that the enemies of truth and righteousness have put forth, and that is that, you know, these guys make a lot of money. And it is America, our country, that has enabled them to live these privileged lives. And for these men who make millions of dollars to be given the opportunity to play football, and they take a knee and disrespect our flag, disrespect our national anthem when they are so privileged. Now, that's such a stupid, silly, and weak argument. Number one, the fortunate always have to look out for the less fortunate. So if these football players are fortunate to have fame, fortunate to have money, fortunate to have notoriety and influence, then Christian values say that they should look out for the less fortunate. So, you know, Jesus was with his disciples, I think it was in the book of Matthew. And they said, when were you hungry and I fed you not? When were you naked and out of doors and I gave you not shelter? When were you sick and in prison and I ministered not unto you? These were the disciples talking to Jesus. And Jesus said, inasmuch as you have not done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you have not done it also unto me. This is a verse that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan quotes, and he said that peoples and nations are judged by this verse. And now, because Jesus wasn't concerned about how he was treated. See, Colin Kaepernick was not concerned about his $19 million a year. He was not concerned about his endorsements. He was doing exactly what Jesus would have said. He was concerned about the least of these. And I would just ask, you know, white folks, y'all have a lot of churches, big churches. Y'all talk about a guy named Jesus, who, by the way, was a black man. But y'all talk about a guy named Jesus all the time. When the hell are you going to follow him and stop singing about him and actually follow him? I believe the answer is never. That's what I believe. You can take it or let it alone. It hadn't happened yet. So, again, you are those people who go after Colin Kaepernick are in direct contravention to the words of Jesus, and they're in direct contravention to Scripture. Remember, God was on the side of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He was on the side of Daniel, who did not bow to the image of Nebuchadnezzar. And he is on the side of Colin Kaepernick. He is on the side of Marshawn Lynch. He is on the side of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. He is on the side of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He is on the side of all of those who refuse to bow to the image of the enemy. He is on our side. And that is where Scripture is on our side. It's not on your side. It's not on the side of Fox News. It's on our side. It's on Colin Kaepernick's side. And that's what we need to understand. For those of you who go to church, if you disagree with me, just don't go no more, because you're faking. If you can't deal with what I've said to you from Scripture and from what Jesus said, do not call yourself a Christian follower of Jesus. Call yourself the arrogant religious hypocrite that you are. Because we got to go hard. Because, yeah, you got a president If you think my words are harsh, you got a president calling people sons of a bitch simply because they exercise their free speech. This is the president of the United States. Don't get mad that I said it. If you're not mad that Trump said it, don't be mad that I said it. I don't advocate that kind of language. But that's your president. That's the one that you voted for. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air with the Community Defender.
Greetings, Brother Daryl, man. Great show, man. You definitely inspire me with what you're talking about today. Listen, and I'm going to land for the first part, Brother Daryl. The London bookies have it favorable that he will drop the N-word soon publicly. He will drop it publicly. And for me and for other people, that's nothing. We know that happens all the time. But for a lot of brothers and sisters, we have to convince them what's going on. Some still don't believe. But listen, Brother Daryl, what Colin Kaepernick has done, and I would like to hope that he got inspired by the likes of people like you, Minister Farrakhan, and those who came in the past, where he took that protest to another level on that platform called the NFL. Now, let me say this. It has inspired a lot of our young people also to make some moves and do that. Because this week in Bossier City, Louisiana, Parkway High School threatened to kick any team player who does not stand for the anthem. Well, frankly, brother Darrell, I never did since I was young, and I attended parochial school. I never stood for no anthem or said no pledge of allegiance, even though I was on the threat of kicking me out of school. That never did move me, and I hope others feel the same way too. And the problem is, even in the Lafayette area, you have different businesses have threatened to pull products or have pulled products from association with any teams in the NFL that participated in the protest. And even locally, stores have removed NFL emblems from their stores. One of the food stores out here called Broad's Mark, I think. And so that has created a groundswell of resentment from some in the black community because they understand that's an affront to them. It's not so much that we for the NFL. It's so much as that they would not let anybody take a stand and do a protest based on what President Doctor in chief said. And let me tell you this: what Donald Trump is going, Donald Trump is not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Not by any stretch of imagination.
It is the white supremacist handlers who want to take this to alt-right, and they know they are. We got a couple of them who have chose on AOC. They want to take this to another level. And what they're doing is they have infused President Doctor with the notion of, well, we need to create a so-called Willie Lynch, and if you want to call it a mythical Willie Lynch syndrome among people. And so what he did, when he said this week to the press that the owners are scared of the players, that basically right there told me that there's another hand controlling Donald Trump. And we should not be so much as concerned as Donald Trump, but we should be concerned with the white supremacy situation that controls them. And the people that voted for the white supremacy situation might be somebody's boss in Baton Rouge, somebody's priest in Lafayette, somebody's cousin in New Iberia who's half white. So that's who we should be worried about. These people uphold Donald Trump. Donald Trump is powerless, so it's white supremacy is at play over here. So people need to understand the bottom line, the common denominator is white supremacy. Brother Darrell, thank you so much.
I can't argue with you there. And you know, we've had callers and people on Facebook to express a certain amount of fear. The thing I would say is that we do not need to fear. We certainly need to be careful, but we don't need to be fearful because keep in mind, if God is for you, who can be against you? The Holy Quran says that if Allah helps you, there's none that can overcome you. That's in the 3rd chapter of the Holy Quran, 160th verse. But if Allah is not with you, then there's none that can help you. So it's a situation to where both books, both Bible and Holy Quran, Said, the Lord is my strength and my redeemer. Of whom shall I be afraid? We don't have to fear Donald Trump. We fear God and God alone. That's how you have to be. And pledging allegiance has to be a pledging of allegiance only to God. We've said that for years on this show. I have never pledged allegiance to a flag. I've always pledged my allegiance to God. See what I'm saying? So as a Muslim, our prayer is, my life, my death, my sacrifice is all for Allah, Lord of the worlds. No associate as he. And this I am commanded, I am of those who submit. You see, that is our prayer. And believe it or not, whether you use the Arabic word for God, Allah, or you use the word Jehovah, the principle is the same, that God and God alone should you pledge your allegiance. Let's go ahead and take this caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, just a couple of comments about the protest. I don't think it belongs in the workplace. And just like me or you, I work for myself, but I mean, if you go to work, your boss or your company tells you what you can or cannot do at the workplace, okay? And another thing, Roger Goodell, that clown, it says, it's in the bylaws about, stand up for the flag and what you got to do and stuff like that. And Adam Silver said the players are going to do, stand for the anthem or stay in the locker room, but if they stay in the locker room, they're still going to get fined. You know what I'm saying? And like me, if you want to protest the flag, that's fine, but I just think it shouldn't be done, in the NFL venue. Me and like a lot of other fans, when I turn the TV on, I watch the game. I want to watch the game. I don't want to see nothing political. Thank you for taking my call, brother.
And like I say, I can appreciate what you said, but keep in mind when we watch games, while the national anthem is being playing, a lot of people are cursing, getting drunk, grabbing women on the butt, doing what the president said he does, just grab them by the, all that's going on while the national anthem is being played. So it's not like people really hold the national anthem in high esteem. It's just that America thinks we have to keep these black people in line. That's what it's about. We see advertisements of companies. We see everything at the stadium. And if you really want to break it down to it, let's just not have any. Let's just start the game. No pledge of allegiance, nothing. Just boom. Coin toss, go. No national anthem or nothing. See, if you talk like that, and if you don't want to see anything political, because the national anthem is political. It was voted on. It's political. The flag is political. It's connected to a nation that was set up through politics. Okay? Bottom line of it is that is political. And there's politics in every single thing. So my whole thing, if you really want to go that far, just turn the television on and it should be the coin toss and kick it and don't say anything except now the game has started. See, but you don't want to go that far. You see what I'm saying? You're not really believing what you're stating, because if that was the case, I would say eliminate a pledge of allegiance, eliminate everything but football. The only flag that should be flying is the flags and the mascot of the respective teams, and don't have anything. But you're not ready for that. You want these black players to bow down. You feel like, Negro, we pay you the money. Shut up. Don't deal with anything. Don't deal with all of the murder that's taking place in the black community. Don't deal with anything. Just go out there on that field and run that ball. And that's pretty much the mindset. Go ahead, call you on the air with the community defender.
Yes, sir. I just tuned you in the last couple of minutes. You're 100% correct on everything you're saying. You know what I think? I think neither ain't going to get it. I said the police ought to put their guns down. I grew up in the 70s, and I don't see much change. It might be worse. I mean, you're going to shoot a black man and kill him because he stole a pack of cigarettes? You're supposed to arrest him. Some of it's abuse and some of it's downright murder. That's the bottom line.
We definitely appreciate your comments. I'd have to agree with you. Thank you much.
All right.
All right. And of course, he got right to the point. Let's go ahead and take this other caller. Go ahead and call him on the air with the community defender. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, I wanted to say that. How many people were lynched under the red, white, and blue flag? How many? The greatest atrocities happened under red, white, and blue flag, under the Pledge of Allegiance. So, what are they supposed to be pledging to? It's a bunch of hypocrisy, and that's basically how the United States of America, and I love the way y'all have it spelled, AmeriKKKa, was established.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they stole from the indigenous Americans, kidnapped the blacks, and just made billions of dollars off of slave labor. Thank you.
That's right. And for those Italians and Irish and different people that came afterwards, they just have to realize that they came and they may have had a job, but there was an economy that had already been built off of slave labor that our people had actually built and didn't get paid for. And now we find with this movie and the book and the story about Hidden Figures, we find that even getting to the moon, orbiting the earth, that America did not do anything of substance without the great aid and help of black people. You didn't orbit the earth for the first time. You didn't go into space for the first time without the mathematical calculations of people who you deprived of equal education. But it was the very genetic makeup and the heart of black people that enabled them to excel and to be the best mathematicians that NASA had, even though they were put into inferior schools. And so you've done nothing without black people of substance at all. That's just historically accurate. Go ahead and call you on the air with the community defender.
Am I on the air?
Yes, sir. You are on the air, sir.
Let me tell you what happened to me this day. Why we need protests. I was involved in a minor altercation, I would say. I was put behind a police car, not restrained, and violently the bricks were slammed. I was threw forward, suffered contusions to the head, back injuries, neck injury, and was told if I did say anything about it, the tape would probably be erased and felony charges would be filed against me, right? I later was transported to the parish jail. X-rays was produced, performed, and showed that I had a severe case of whiplash. Tomorrow I will go to this specific police department and I probably will stand alone. But I want an incident report or an accident report. Am I right on pursuing this?
Well, the thing I would say, anytime you pursue justice, you're doing the right thing. I mean, that's just what it is. But keep in mind, your pursuit of justice can often be very long because you live in an unjust society that does not respect human rights. Even as America lectures other nations on human rights, the nation with the absolute worst record on the treatment of human beings is none other than the United States of America, whose Declaration of Independence was ratified and signed July 4th, 1776. That is the nation with the absolute worst record, historical and now, as it relates to human rights. And North Korea knows that, Russia knows that. All of the nations of the earth are now challenging America's role with all of her nice rhetoric about freedom. They're saying, no, your reality is totally different, America. You might want to shut up when you talk about human rights. Look at how the blacks are treated in your country. So, and look how you treat non-whites around the world. Keep in mind, and I've heard this said a few times. I saw someone talking about it online, that 40% of America's military is non-white. I'm going to check to verify that. But if 40% of your military is non-white, that means you cannot defend your nation the way you want to defend it with just white people. That means you're utilizing other people, and those other people should have rights in America. But those other people do not have equal rights, even though they're paying a disproportionately high price to defend the nation that hates them. And that's just what it is. America hates black people, yet black people will defend America with their lives. Something's wrong with that picture. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air with the community defender.
Yeah, this is me again. I called a few minutes ago. I just got another comment. I used to race horses all over the country, and before the horse racing started, I played the national anthem. I played multiple sports and coached multiple sports. I just want to say I agree with you 100%. I think they ought to just do away with that before sporting events. Because I'm 60 years old, and I still don't understand why they have to do that, and what the hell does that have to do with sports? So I just want to let you know that I agree with you 100%. Thank you.
Well, at this point, the caller has called back, and I will have to stand corrected because I did not believe the caller would agree to eliminating all of that, but I stand corrected. Before thousands of viewers, we can make a correction. Thank you, caller, for that. All right, go ahead, caller. You're on there with the community defender.
Yeah, I just want to say, concerning the flag protest, I think there's a lot of misrepresentation going on about the athletes. The United States flag, the American flag, it stands for American values, and if the government and the people involved aren't living up to those values, then it stands to reason that the people, just people, that sees what's going on, is going to have a disagreement with it, and they have a right, on a constitution to they say protest, but I'm also looking at it as bringing to light, what's wrong, in society, or what's wrong, or what they don't agree with. I don't really see it as a protest. And when these athletes take a knee, they're taking a knee. If you look at, respectfully taking a knee, because when you're playing any sports, especially football, someone goes down in their sports, first thing these athletes do, they surround a person and take a knee while they're hit. So I think they're respectfully protesting. You're not protesting the flag per se, but some of the values that are not being honored, not being met. And that's pretty much what I want to say on that part. And secondly, I want to say real quick, I just want to ask you a question real quick. What do you have to say about some of these blacks that goes on a lot of these media shows defending Donald Trump? And I'll hang up and I'll just hear your response.
Well, I mean, there have always been people who, and caller, I'm going to get to you. I got you in queue. There have always been people who agree or will agree out of fear or for advantage with the enemies of righteousness and dignity. There have always been people like that. So, and he's always going to, if he can give someone something, he's always going to, because he can offer something to somebody, he's always going to have people that he can buy. And one of the things, some of us are still slaves, and slaves are for sale. And some of us are advertising. When we get on those programs, we're really advertising that we are for sale. And one of the reason that the housing secretary was chosen, the former neurologist, what was his name? The former neurologist that ran for president. He's so insignificant until I forgot his name. But anyway, he was given a post. They were looking at giving a post to Sheriff Clark, but it was blocked by the person who's now the chief of staff, who blocked his appointment to the. So what Trump has been saying is, if you play ball, Negroes, I will give you a place in the government. I'll give you a job. I'll give you notoriety. all you have to do is run your mouth in favor of me. And that's been the case. And it's always been able to go out. Do you know that Dr. Martin Luther King was not allowed in but one church in Texas the year before he was assassinated because the propaganda against him was so strong? Do you know that in Baton Rouge? Ben Carson. Yeah, Ben Carson. Now, okay, was the person who got the housing secretary post because he kissed butt for so long. So he now has a cabinet position. So what Trump is trying to do is send the message that if you play ball, I'll take care of you. If you're disloyal to your own people, I'll make sure that you have a place that is prominent in government with a good salary and good retirement. And that's, for some of us, that's all we want. We don't want to be significant in the uplift of our own people. We don't want to have an eternal impact on society. We just want to be comfortable, live our lives, and stay out of trouble. We're scared. Okay, we really can't follow Jesus because Jesus got into trouble for standing up for what's right. Yet we go to a church that honors his name, but a lot of times the preachers who are over those flocks do not honor his legacy by struggling for justice as Jesus did. So I just wanted to lay that out there. There's always going to be, not always, because that's coming to an end, but in the near future there will still be sellouts. But at a certain point, treason will have a significant price, I'm told, and I do believe what I was told on that. Let's go ahead, caller. Are you on the air with the Community Defender?
Yes, Brother Daryl, you got another caller coming back in from the previous call. Brother Daryl, look, we got to understand under the flag and the national anthem, we got to take our hats off to Brother Muhammad Ali. You understand me? When he refused to go fight to Viet Cong, you understand me? When society, the United States wouldn't fight for him to be a free man. You know, now you talk to a lot of Vietnam War veterans. You understand me? Look like when they came back here, they deprogram them, but they'll tell you all the ills that they had
Big
under
time.
the flag fight in Vietnam for supposed to be the American people. You know, they came back, and when they got back here, they couldn't go in certain restaurants, they couldn't go in certain places, and a whole lot of them went into prison because they was mentally disturbed, coming back to the United States from fighting in the rain, in the water, in situations that they didn't even know where it was half of the time. You know, yeah, we might watch a few movies here and there, but to get someone that was there in it and hear what he has to say, and he act like they act like they're scared to talk about it, you know, because they're in a certain situation. So again, Brother Daryl, you having a very informative show. You're touching on a lot of things that need to be touched about. You know, I wish that we had more time in a day to talk about all the ills that's been going on under the United States flag and the national anthem and the Jim Crow.
Thank you, brother. And look,
it.
in the remaining moments of our program, I wanted to mention to you that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be speaking on October the 15th. The program will start at 1 o'clock. I would advise everyone at 2600 Plank Road, that's 2600 Plank Road in Baton Rouge. The doors are going to open at 12 noon on October the 15th. That's 2 weeks from today. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan will be speaking on the subject of separation or death. All right, that's what he will be speaking on. Now, the thing about it is, you need to hear this message in this hour from a man who's been on the battlefield for 60 years. Now, we just lost, we've lost quite a few great ones. We lost Dick Gregory. but the legacy of struggle until justice is achieved must continue. And what we have to do is struggle in the right way, struggle for the right thing, do the thing that will allow us to get justice. And the path that we have been going on will not get us justice. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this in 1965. He said, if we vote, white people can decide not to count that vote. That's how George Bush got in. And when it's all said and done, you will find that that's how Donald Trump got in. They can let you vote, but just find a way not to count that vote. Let's go ahead and see if we have enough time to take this last caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. I don't see why, because all of the big companies that are doing the boycotts, why can't the black community boycott in reaction to that issue and bring that up to Donald Trump? Because
I mean, we advocate a boycott
yes.
on this program. We advocate a boycott. Don't say you want to be free if you're not willing to boycott, because that's exactly what they are doing. They're talking about cutting funding from the Saints because 10 black players took a knee. Why? They understand economics, and it's about time that black people understand economics and understand that that is a legal tool that you can use to force people to the table. What are they doing to North Korea? They're trying to choke her off economically to make her bow. And I believe that as black people with $1.2 trillion of spending power, that we can choke our enemies off. And we can make them all bow to the truth if we are unified. Until you want to say unity, until you want to say boycott, don't say freedom. Because you're not going to get it without boycotting, doing selective buying campaigns, and without unity as a people. 30 seconds. All right, now in the remaining moments of our program, I want to mention you to your 2600 Plank Road in Baton Rouge. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan, October the 15th. 2600 Plank Road in Baton Rouge. 1 o'clock is when it starts, and the doors open at 12. October 16th, the separation or death. And of course, I'm going to put it up on my Facebook page, Daryl Muhammad on Facebook. You have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and